And then even, in my early 20s, when I started gain weight again, that's when I realized, like, those times I would tell them, like, hey, you're making these choices for a reason, identify them, start teaching yourself the correct
Sure.
habits, and it gets better. Like, there is hope for everybody in any
Yeah.
situation. I may never have a six pack, I may never look like Arnold, like, but there's a healthy body for me.
Yeah.
That
Yeah, man.
makes my quality of life a whole lot better for not just myself, but my family as well.
Absolutely, bro.
Coach Miguel here,
Coach Drew here, and you're listening to the Finding Reason podcast,
where we focus on the 5 factors of health: nutrition, sleep, movement, mindset, and connection.
Enjoy.
Yeah, man. So it's going to be kind of like a really candid interview style. I'm honestly I wanted to use this opportunity to get to know you a little bit better as well. You're one of many of our nutrition clients that we coach online, and it's so cool because I started this. So to give you some backstory, I started this gym out of my mom's garage when I was 22 years old.
Really? That's
yeah,
awesome.
man. So we went brick and mortar, and I mean, as a business owner yourself, I'm sure like you can identify with the struggles of getting your own business going and all that stuff, right? It's like it's a lot of work.
No, that's awesome, man. Just like to hear that and to see where you guys are now. I mean, gosh, more power to you guys. Congrats on that, man. That's an accomplishment itself. I mean, you guys are set up beautifully down there, so it's amazing.
Yeah, man. So So basically, I just have a few questions. You kind of already shared with me. So obviously, your name is Justin Tipton. Tell me about yourself a little bit, man. You said you own like a moving company. That's awesome.
Yeah.
I got to use you the next time. Hopefully I don't have to move for another 10 years. I moved in 2019 or 2020.
Yeah, it's a struggle moving. Small business owner, a husband, a father of 3.
Oh, bro. Hey, check this out. I don't want to interrupt, but
No, go ahead.
I'm headed to the hospital after a call because I think we're going to deliver today.
Oh,
yeah,
wow.
Bro.
Congrats.
Yeah. And congrats to you, man. You got a 2-month-old?
He's 4 months now.
Okay.
I have a 4-month-old, 3-year-old, and then a 6-year-old. So all boys, keeping me and my wife very busy. The house is always, it's never quiet around here.
Yeah, but, I bet, dude.
What about you, man? Is the first one?
No. So I have a 5-year-old daughter, a 3-year-old son, and then a 0-year-old daughter right now. Or she's.
Oh, so you're going to be right in the same boat.
Yeah, man.
Here, so.
It's a ton of work, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Three boys though, man. My son's a lot of energy. I couldn't imagine. I have another friend that's about to have her 3rd son as well, and I'm like, bro, that's a lot of work, man.
Oh yeah, it's fun, but it's draining. I'll be honest with you. Part of the reason why I started to do all that with Drew is just trying to keep the energy
for sure.
up, so keep up with those guys.
Yeah, for sure, man. Yeah, so that's actually a perfect question. So you're a small business owner. How long have you owned your business for?
I think this is my 6th year.
Awesome, dude.
So it's been great. I started right before, 6 years. I started right before my firstborn was being born. I just wanted to make sure I had more time at home with them.
Right on, man.
Get to spend those days with them. And then it's been good ever since. It's been a little scary during the pandemic, obviously. We've had ups and downs, good months and bad months, but we're keeping it moving and all is good there.
And where are you based out of?
So my moving company is out of Newport. Costa Mesa, Newport.
Okay. Oh wow. Okay.
I live in Whittier, so it's a little bit of a travel.
Oh wow, that's a real good drive, man.
Yeah, it is. Yeah. It is. Over there, man. I'll be honest with you. Like they don't ever have like recessions or any problems with the economy.
Yeah.
That county pretty much is bulletproof. Yeah. So it was
during COVID, man. We would head down there for like little like mini trips and just it's almost like it didn't exist out there, and people seemed relatively unaffected, man. So
exactly, it's a whole different world down there. I hope to have their problems one day.
It's totally different set of problems, but yeah, man. So you, that's what kind of led you to wanting to work with Drew. Tell me a little bit about like kind of your health and fitness background. What's that journey? How old are you?
I'm 33.
33. Yeah. How's that look like for the last, 10, 20 years? Yeah.
Yeah. Like a quick summary of me is, I grew up single mother, not really eating the right stuff. My mom worked a lot of, she was a waitress. She would bring me home food. Before you know it, I was, probably like 10 or 11 years old and I already had a pretty big weight problem. And that continued on, pretty much throughout my whole life. I've had times where I've dropped weight. I've had times where I got more into wrestling and jiu-jitsu and stuff like that helped me out. But it's been a roller coaster. At my heaviest, in high school, I was probably about like 245.
Wow, me too. Dude, man, we got I got a single mother. I graduated high school like just under 250, like 247.
Okay, yeah, same boat, man.
But I'm 5'8", bro. I'm not a tall dude.
Oh man, I beat you 1 inch. I'm 5'7". So
yeah,
exactly what. Yeah. And for me, the 240s was not like
it wasn't a muscular 240.
No, it was just complete fat, and it was a struggle, growing up as far as the weight went.
Sure.
And then after high school, I caught a little second wind where I said, okay, I'm gonna drop some of this. I had a pretty good run, I guess, between like maybe 18 and 20.
Okay.
And then from there, it started to slowly creep back up and get back up there till this last point where, where I started with Drew, I got on the scale again and I felt my worst. And I looked at the scale, it was like 212. I hadn't seen that number in years. I felt the weakest. And looking back on it, I remember Drew in his early days of CrossFit as a coach. I went to a CrossFit gym and I literally was like, man, this kid's killing it. Like, what is he doing?
It's come a long way.
So, and then I saw a post literally of the nutrition. And that's long story short is, I reached out to him and said, hey, can you help me out here? But it's always been a weight problem until now, like really learning about, some of the do's and don'ts of nutrition.
Yeah. What was your, so your starting weight was about 212 and then you're guessing in the 180s now or
no. So I'm 194 now. Okay. It was 212 when I started. And then, my body fat percentage.
Oh, that's right. You gained muscle and you lost body fat.
Yeah, it was pretty high. It was like 34 point something
Whoa, bro, you don't look 34% at all. I mean, it's my first time meeting you. Love to see before,
not
man.
Now. Thank God, not now. It's been a journey on it, and it's getting down to where I think I've lost in total like 10 to 11% in body fat.
It's crazy, bro. That's amazing.
So, which is great for me. I still have a long way to go, but just learning some of the things in the process that have really helped out.
How are you feeling? For you, you're feeling tired.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, I before all this, I was probably at like one of the worst points as like my adulthood, mentally and physically. I'm not, I haven't shared too much with Drew about that, but like overall, we're in the middle of a pandemic.
Yeah, man, it was hard, bro. Yeah.
I was struggling financially a little bit there as far as business going.
Yeah, I feel that.
I had an adjustment. I had 2 kids and then a third one coming down the pipeline.
Yeah.
A lot of pressure. So for me, mentally and physically, it was probably like my lowest point on it.
Wow.
And just knew that I had to make a change of some sort. But I really didn't know, my whole nutrition background before was sort of like work out and starve yourself. And then by the third or fourth day, I would just, anything in sight I would eat. And then the next day I would feel guilty and then like go back to the starving yourself type deal. So that was sort of how I thought you wait.
Yeah. And it seemed like, how long were you kind of doing that method? Like your entire adult life or?
My entire adult life. I think, part of it came from maybe my success as far as losing it a little bit.
Some initial weight.
Wrestling and jiu-jitsu and stuff. And that's sort of their motto on cutting weight. But I was so big, it wasn't really scaled for me. It was scaled a lot for those smaller guys that are cutting, 3 or 4 pounds for a tournament. 40 pounds for.
Yeah, you're doing the sauna suit weight cutting and all that. Very temporary, right?
Exactly. Yeah. So for me, I took those temporary fixes and tried to apply them, throughout, my adulthood, and it just really wasn't working.
Gotcha, man. What do you feel like? What are some of the biggest things that you've learned in the past? I mean, how many months has it been?
I think it was 7 months. Wow. 7 months.
Crazy.
6 or 7. I'm around there somewhere.
Yeah.
Overall, like I think the biggest thing I've learned is like how important it is to eat like consistently and the right stuff. You're not really supposed to be walking around starving or hungry all day.
No.
You know, the energy source behind like how he's taught me to eat is huge. Like the quality of life that I've never really realized, you know, how important it was to have carbs, to have protein, to have fats. Yeah. Everything I thought was like no carbs, no sugars.
Yeah, no just kind of fad diet stuff, right?
Exactly, exactly. So I didn't ever really take into consideration, you know, when you're overweight and maybe, you know, from being younger, you just look at your body and you look at the things that are wrong. And so you go, well, in order to fix this, I have to fix my body. And you don't really think about the energy or the mental aspect of it or quality of life. You just think, I want a six pack, you know? So
you just think about the end result, the aesthetic and not necessarily the journey or the process, even your health, right?
Exactly. So once it started to change from like, oh, this is an overall health picture, you know, and you know, building off that, that's really where it started to sit with me. Even though I may have a day where I have a cheeseburger or something with my boys, it doesn't put me on this like,
you're not spiraling. You're not like spiraling or like, losing your mind. And then feeling super guilty about it, which usually people end up doing more of the same.
Right. Exactly.
When they feel guilty about something, right?
No. So those things were like, overall, like the biggest thing. Like the other day I told him like, I feel good that if I have something with my sons that I'm not going to go out of control right away or, you know, I'm not going to feel guilty. I just know the next day, like, hey, we're going to get right back on track. Yeah. And that's new to me. I've never had that before in my nutrition.
What do you feel is like kind of the biggest thing that you learned maybe about yourself as like a person through the last 7 months?
Well, that's tough. I've learned so much. Yeah. You know,
break it down.
I think overall, like the biggest thing I guess I've learned from this is the mental aspect of your mindset. Is that, you know, your mind is so strong in ways that it could take you to extreme highs or extreme lows when you let it.
Absolutely.
And I never really thought of it that way. And when I was in my lows, I never thought like, oh, I'm bringing myself down by some of these choices. You know, you just add on and you keep going that route. And next thing you know, you hit rock bottom and you're like, oh, I need some help here. Reflecting on that is like, oh, you know, as long as you have a good foundation, you know, you take responsibility for your actions and you're disciplined in it, you know, you'll really maintain this level of, you know, I don't want to say success and health, but like overall, you'll be okay. You'll be okay if you have a good foundation on it. And for me, it was just more like, okay, Justin, reevaluate some of your life and why are you making these choices, which I never thought was going to come through having a nutritionist. You know, I really didn't.
Yeah, that's a really good point. I mean, I don't think anybody does, right? And a huge part of, you know, making any kind of change in our lives is you're starting at one point here and then you're making this shift and there's this process of I'm here right now and I want to become this person, right? And it's so easy for us to forget that it's not just a choice of, oh, like if I just want to like, you know, a lot of people don't realize that when it comes to getting breakthroughs, like whether it's like in your relationships, in your exercise or even your nutrition and changing the way that you eat, people don't think about how big it is of a thing that you're changing. And it's actually the root of what you're changing is you're changing the way that you think, right? Changing your mindset, because when you change your mindset dictates your action, and then your actions dictate your results, right? And people focus so much on just, oh, I'm just going to do this action where they're not, it's almost like, imagine, you know, it's like when people interview for jobs and they're, you know, people kind of sell themselves into a job, right? I know, especially men tend to do that. It's like, oh, like I want to be a manager of this and that. I can do that. It's like, you don't really have the experience, but then you maybe try to sell your resume a little bit better than it is. And next thing you know, you're wearing these shoes that you weren't really meant to wear. Right. That's always what I think of when people start doing like intermittent fasting or they do all these extreme diets with, oh, I'm gonna go keto. I'm like, what does that mean to you? Like, do you even understand what you're doing? They're like, oh, well, my friend did it and it worked. And it's like, well, maybe that worked well for your friend and that process, but that doesn't mean it works well for you.
No, I couldn't have said it like better. You couldn't put it better. It's like, I don't think when people start this journey, they realize those things. And I definitely didn't. I thought, you know, Drew was going to say, hey, eat this, that, and this.
Yeah.
And that's what I was going to do.
Yeah.
And I had no idea the process that it took and started to change in other areas of my life also.
Yeah.
So it's been a huge help.
That's amazing, man. What are kind of like the top 3 like nutrition focused things? So I know you had a big, huge mindset shift, which is, I think that's always the, like, honestly, the best thing that we hear with our clients is, because we know that when we change your mindset, we change the way that you think, there's so much carryover on that into every other, I bet you, it sounds kind of weird, like, but it's like, now that you have this kind of dialed in, like, and I can say this as a dad, I have a coach myself too. We all have coaches, but I bet you feel like you're a better dad.
Oh, hands
right?
down, man, hands down.
Isn't that so weird?
Yeah, it's crazy. Like, if you want to talk about biggest changes, is like, hands down, I'm a better dad in a sense. My day-to-day routine before was, come home from work, I would drink another cup of coffee, just trying to focus on the kids. And
what time is that?
It would usually be anywhere between like 4:30 and 6.
Oh, wow. That's late.
So I would drink coffee to try to have energy. Then I would be like really just going through the motions with them, trying not to be exhausted. My whole lifestyle with them was different. I never really understood like, I got to take some time for them. I have to put some energy towards them. I got to teach them the right things in life. It was just getting, day by day trying to get by. And, not just as a father, like even with my wife, she's told me right off the bat, like, hey, you're different now. I'm still a work in progress.
No, but it's perfect, that's amazing, man. The reason why, a lot of people get into, and it's funny because just you among so many of our clients come to us and their main focus is like, oh, I want to lose weight. But then that weight actually represents a deeper weight that's holding them down in life. That's not just the poundage. It's not just the body fat, right? There's so many other things that are there. They're weighing you down, and people don't see that or really necessarily hear that or understand that. And then they realize they lose, like, if you think about it, like it is a physical transformation, but the mental, and then how it affects your family, how it makes you show better. Like, to draw an analogy with what you kind of said with showing up for your kids, less tired, that's definitely true for me too. But I look at just like the kind of, I call it like the ripple effects of me being myself or being on a certain journey, and how that affects even my son who's 3 years old, and he's like, they're developing their habits right now. My son, like, not always, because kids are picky, but there's been seasons where I jokingly call them like spinach chips. So like, I'll eat whatever I'm eating, and then honestly, it started because of laziness. And like, I didn't want to cook vegetables or prepare them. So I literally, whatever I'm eating, I'll open up a bag of spinach from like Trader Joe's, and I'll pull them out like chips, and I'll just eat them like with my food. And then he was like, oh, like, Daddy, what is that? I'm like, oh, these are spinach chips. He's like, they're chips? And I'm like, well, they're chips, but they're made of spinach. You want to try one? But it's basically just raw spinach, right?
Right. No,
and he'll eat them, and he's like, oh, Daddy, it's pretty good.
No,
3 years old.
Exactly right. Like one of my boys, my oldest, he's still a little picky, but he will pick up things like, broccoli and carrots with me. My 3-year-old, who's soon to be 4, he's more like the spinach chips. Like, he'll catch on. He's like, Dad, what are you eating? And then he starts eating it, where I didn't grow up like that. Like, nobody said, hey, eat some broccoli or eat some spinach. It was out of question. So to see them start doing those things really brings me a lot of joy, to be like, okay, at least I'm teaching them the right things now while they're this young, instead of them having to go out, at 33 years old and try to figure it out myself. So that's good.
Right on, man. That's so like, it makes me so happy to hear that, bro. I'm so happy for you, bro.
Yeah.
If you could share like maybe the top 3 like nutrition related principles that you kind of live by now, could you kind of summarize it into 3?
Yeah, definitely. I think for me, the first one was, eating consistently, like eating 3 meals a day and having that snack if you need it. But the consistent times is what I've learned, get your body used to eating at certain times or around a time frame, and don't skip, don't miss anything, That was like the first building block, I guess, for me. It was like, okay, Justin, you got to actually eat. So for me, that was the biggest one. And then going towards like palm sizes, like Drew was very big on like, hey, here's your palm sizes, eat this. And it took me a while to be like, okay, well, I need a palm size of protein, a palm size of carbs, and a palm size of veggies. But right off the bat, I learned from those two is like, oh, wow, like you could really, if you just have this as a staple for your nutrition, you'll be okay for the average person on that. And then the third one would just be like the constantly reevaluate, I guess, for me is like, now we're getting into the stage where that third process is like, I can make some changes to my goals now. Now I have like a foundation to where we could actually go, okay, we're going to dial these veggies in, cut back a little bit more on the carbs. Yeah. And I think without the first two for me, I would just try to skip to, you know, the third one right off the bat. Oh, I need
that's super common. Yeah, that's super common.
Exactly. So for me, it was really just building off those first two to know like, okay, that, you know, making the changes down the line. And then also, you know, realizing that once you have that, it's okay to have like an ice cream with your kids. Yeah. Like it's okay to do those things and enjoy life. So for me, those are the three biggest ones, you know, the palm size, consistently, and then being okay with, you know, enjoying like the first time I had beers with my buddy on the golf course, you know, we were golfing and I really felt guilty the next time speaking to Drew, like, hey, Drew, like I had some ultras, man. And he's like, well, how many did you have? I'm like, oh, man, I had 3. Like, I'm really sorry. Like, and he's like, no. Like, that's cool. Enjoy it. That's what we're here for. Yeah. And it took me a long time to understand.
Yeah. It's actually really interesting seeing that because it's cool that you're able to see that and balance that because you know that you've gotten the fundamentals correct. You know, something that I don't know if Drew has shared with you, and I don't know, I hope I'm not like spilling all secrets, but that guy will drink a Modelo on the weekend. So what's interesting is I don't want to say I've coached him, but kind of like mentored him for the last 3 years. Him coming into our gym, like just being this young kid, he's still very young, but he's very mature for his age. And when he first came in, he told me he wanted to compete. And his life was a lot more like his life is very balanced for what he wants now because of what his goals are. Right. But when he first came in, he used to be like, yeah, you know what? I take care of myself. I drink a beer on the weekends, maybe 2. Like I don't have a problem with it. That boy's not drinking any beer now because he's so dialed into what he like, where he knows he is and where he wants to go. Right. Because it just doesn't fit. Right. Whereas like for you and I, like we're dads, like we're focusing on providing for our family, leaving a legacy for them, teaching them how to live well, like to live good lives. And you know what, if I go golfing, like I don't drink any alcohol, but like, I'm not going to feel bad if I have a drink or something like that. Right. Like, right. Not to, because that's actually part of the experience. Right. It doesn't have to be, but if you want it to be, it shouldn't be the thing that eats away at you. It should be life-giving. Right. No, definitely. So, and you know, the quality of life is there, I guess, like with those things, like it's giving, it's a giving moment. It's a moment I enjoy, you know, and then I get right back on track and absolutely, like, okay, man, we'll go from here. Where before it was just like, I can't believe you, like you threw in the towel on yourself already. Look how you look. Yeah, no, exactly. Right. Like one thing you feel like you're totally done. And it seems like you've matured and grown a lot in that. Just in the past 7 months, learning these things about yourself and, you know, learning like it's, I don't know if you ever read Jordan Peterson's 12 Rules for Life. No, not yet. I hear great things about him. You know who he is? Oh, okay. Yeah, definitely. And he also has one called Beyond Order. It's really good. But what people don't realize is that everybody has rules for life. Like everybody has a step. It's like, that's why food is like such a big one, right? Nutrition, when it comes down to it, what we don't realize is the way that we've taught, like what's your background? Like ethnicity? Oh, for the city? No, like what ethnicity are you? Like what? I'm Hispanic, so half my family is Cuban and Mexican, and the other half is the white guy. Okay, I was just trying to confirm it. Like when it comes down to it, like it's like I come from a more Asian culture, right? And Chinese culture, and you know, food is revolved around family. Right. Exactly. And it's hard to separate that. And what happens is when we learn that growing up, now we start to learn that, oh, you know what, maybe if I say no, it's going to hurt grandma's feelings. And then, so I better eat it. Right. So food is not just the nutrition or energy in, energy out type thing. Now it has to do with culture and how I make somebody feel. You're exactly right. Those are all rules that we're making that we don't even know we're forming from a young age.
And that's true. My family that we hang out, it's a little bit different. They're all Mexican. They're all Hispanic.
Yeah.
The way we eat at a family gathering is, I mean, you've
Sure.
heard before. But in my family, I'm the only one that's really struggled with my weight as a male. A lot of these guys are a lot taller.
Sure.
I don't know how they burn everything off.
Yeah.
They've just been consistently in better health. So for me, learning those things is like, I can't eat 4 tacos like maybe my uncles can, and I can't do those things consistently like them. And I didn't realize those things. I didn't realize it until now. It affects everybody different. There's
Absolutely.
not one way that fits every single person out there. You really have to make adjustments for you.
Yeah. What you kind of described just now, like, first of all, I love your top 3 takeaways. They were really good. And what they reminded me of, which tells me that like Drew has been doing a great job with you, is kind of, we have this like reason nutrition pyramid. So I don't have it on me. If we ever use this for any content, I'll probably put a picture of it. But think about a pyramid, right? The way that pyramid works. And the bottom of a pyramid is the foundation, the foundational layer. Now, what you've kind of shown mastery over is the first 2 layers are about quality. And then what that means is so many people are so like focused on a diet that they forget that it's about, the bottom layer is about protein and unprocessed foods. Right. So we want to eat as little stuff out of a box or stuff that has like a 10-year shelf life. I think about like a 10-year shelf life is terrifying, right? It's not even food anymore, but it has like, we want to go protein and unprocessed. And the next stage up is carbohydrates and fats. And it's, instead of us saying one food group or one macronutrient is bad for you, it's recognizing that they are all energy and they all do different things for you. Right. So those 2 first layers of the pyramid, it's protein and unprocessed foods. Then it's carbohydrates and fats. It sounds like going through that, like kind of relearn that all food is important. Right. Sure. And then the 3rd layer above that is quantity of food. So it's quality, then quantity. And that's what we kind of figure out. It's about energy in versus energy out. And when you start to recognize that, it's really just looking at food as an energy source, that all food is energy. It's what is the quality of the energy that I'm taking in, and then how much of it do I need?
Right. No, the give you like a little input on Drew is when I tried CrossFit, and that's how I met Drew at his old gym. And I signed up for like a meal plan, and I didn't know any of this. And before you knew it, I was eating these 3 meals a day, and I was trying to work out. And I kept telling him like, hey, I feel like I'm going to pass out at a certain point. Yeah. And just real quickly, he said, well, what are you eating? And he probably doesn't remember this. And I told him, well, I'm on this meal plan, and I'm eating this. And he's like, bro, and he was very young back then. He wasn't even like a full-time coach. He's like, I think you're only eating like 1,200 calories a day. Yeah. And you're coming in here trying to work out, like, what and burning
1,200 calories.
Right. But me not being signed up with him, or he wasn't, doing nutrition full time and coaching full time, I just walked away like, oh man, like I failed again. I had no idea where to go. And the CrossFit was short lived just because I couldn't keep up. It was really tearing me down. I didn't realize that till now, like, oh, you probably should have had more.
You just weren't being fueled properly, right?
Right, exactly.
Yeah. So those are the first 2 layers. So it's got layer 1 and 2, which is protein, unprocessed foods, and then carbohydrates and fats. The layer above that is the quantity, so the energy substrates in and out, which is the first time we're talking about quantity of food. And then the layer above that is layer 4. And it's kind of, I think it seems like that's what you're going through now, where you've kind of shown mastery or some mastery over layer 1 and 2, and what 1, 2, and 3. And what layer 4 is just combining 1, 2, and 3 and refining.
Right.
So then, which leads me to my next question is like, what is it in your journey now with food and nutrition and health? What do you feel like are the things that you're refining now?
Refining and like making small adjustments too would definitely be like the preparation for your week and for your days. I think as a father of 3 and a husband and stuff, I get caught in this trying to be a business owner and a father and a husband, and then work out and very easily can your week start to get ahead of yourself, I guess.
For sure. Yeah.
And if you're not prepared, if you don't have the veggies in the fridge and you don't have the mindset ready and know what you're going to be eating for your proteins and getting your good quality carbs in, For me, it could snowball effect real quickly.
For sure.
So that's been the biggest adjustment I see in this stage is like, okay, we've already had these building blocks. Now you need to consistently do them across the board for your goal at the end of it, and making sure my preparation is in order. Before, I was learning everything. So you can sort of wing it sometimes on lunch. You can go to, the Waba Grill and get some rice and some chicken and steamed broccoli. And in the start, that's great. Once you're learning these building blocks, for me, at least it was. Yeah. But now it's like, okay, well, the quality of the chicken, is it really there? And how much, rice are you eating with that? And, are you mixing in the correct veggies? And now it's refining those little things in the long term. Yeah.
That's awesome, man. Man, I've really enjoyed this conversation. This is awesome, man. This is great. It's so cool because I didn't know you before this. So I can only wonder what you were like before.
It wasn't that, honestly, I'm a lot happier now. And I'm very thankful for you guys, man. I'm very thankful for your work with Drew. And I'm thankful for the opportunity he's given me. At first, I didn't even know if he would take me on as a client. I was like, dude, I live all the way over here. Your gym's all the way over here. I don't know how this is going to work. But
we have clients all over the world, man, which is
that's what he was telling me.
Yeah, it's really cool.
And just the overall, whatever you guys have installed together as coaches has really helped me, through this process of life, man.
Yeah. Awesome, man. We'll kind of wrap up with a couple questions. I have some fun questions I'd like to ask anybody that I do an interview with, just because get to know you a little bit better. Just for context too. I wanted to ask this earlier, but I forgot. What's your work day like? Because a lot of people, I feel like one thing I hear is people go, "Oh, well, I'm too busy to eat healthy." You hear that a lot, right? So what's your work day like? I imagine it's not.
No, every day is different. So for me, I wake up, I sort of look at what's on the calendar. I'm also a board member in the city of Whittier. And so it throws a lot of city council meetings and stuff like that. Like last night we were doing that. So I really have to look at it day by day on it to go. But usually it start my morning off, make the calls, get the emails answered. Yeah. And then I'm out on the road a lot, whether I'm doing estimates or visiting clients or stopping by job sites. And so it is a little bit of a juggling act. For me, before this, I did find myself being like, "Oh, it's too hard to eat healthy." Yeah. But that's just an excuse, man. That
when you
really
hit that McDonald's because it's convenient, right? Yeah.
Exactly. Even to the point where I learned I don't really have to go to a fast food ever again if there's a Sprouts nearby. So that was a winner for me. But it's a juggling act. Just making sure. Sometimes I'm home for the day, and those are the days that I get a chance to prep a little bit more and take care of the weekly things.
Right on, man. What would you today, Justin today on March 9th of 2022, what would you say to yourself, the you maybe 10 years ago? And then what would you say to somebody that maybe doesn't believe that they can change or doesn't believe that it's for them, that they feel like they're stuck in the way that they are? How would you encourage them?
I think ultimately, man, I would tell them hey, it gets better if you work at it. You got to really identify the things in life that are making you make these choices, especially as an adult. I knew as a kid, I had a little bit of a pass. When you're a kid, you eat what's in front of you, you eat what's given. And if I could, one day I'll show you guys pictures, man, of how big I was.
I'd love to see it. Yeah.
Unrecognizable, very, very unhealthy, I should say. And then even, in my early 20s, when I started to gain weight again, that's when I realized, those times I would tell them, hey, you're making these choices for a reason. Identify them. Start teaching yourself the correct habits. And it gets better. There is hope for everybody in any situation. I may never have a six pack. I may never look like Arnold, but there's a healthy body for me that makes my quality of life a whole lot better for not just myself, but my family as well.
Absolutely, bro. Love to hear that, man. That's great. Kind of just a fun question. Do you snack right now?
Do I snack? Oh, as far as like having a snack here and there,
Yeah.
definitely. They've changed.
What's your go-to snack food that you feel like is good for you? And then what's your go-to snack food that you know is a bad choice, but just tastes so good?
Oh, for sure. Well, they've gotten a lot better, both of them. My go-to snack, like when I have a sweet tooth, and I do, that's probably like my biggest hurdle through all this, is
Okay.
I used to snack all the time. But my go-to is Greek yogurt with some granola and a little bit of honey.
Okay.
And literally that like does enough for me where I'm like, cool. Like,
Yeah.
I don't feel guilty about it.
Sure.
At the end of the night, like I feel refreshed. I feel like it killed that craving. And that's my honestly go-to. I've had that, in fact, like during this whole process of refining things, pull that back a little bit, because I realized during this, like, oh, I'm using this as a crutch almost. Like, it became more of a habit than I wanted to. So now I'm like, all right.
I've gone through that too. Yeah.
Right. And then the one that I know is not the best for you, but I do from time to time, is I'm a sucker for chocolate. Like anything chocolate, whether it's a chocolate bar or whatever it may be. Like I caught myself like, oh, okay, like this is cool every once in a while, and this is still my go-to choice. Right on, a bad snack, I guess you would say.
Yeah. Right on, man. What would you say is like your favorite meal to eat right now? That's just like if I could choose this, if I could only choose one meal to eat for the rest of my life, like this would be my favorite meal. Oh,
that's tough, man. That's a good one. As far as like a good staple for me, like what I realized like for dinner is like my go-to, where I have no guilt or no shame on it. It is literally like I have a smoker, and so I'll smoke up some tri-tip.
Traeger?
I have some tri-tip. And then I have a potato, and literally broccoli or green beans, I should say, are probably my go-to. And that for me, like, which is shocking, like I could eat that all the time. Yeah, most
meals, right?
Right, all the time. Where before, like prior to this, it would be like, what? Like, there's no way. Greens on the plate? No way. Yeah. Having a baked potato with literally just the baked potatoes sometimes, like that was out of question. Before, my baked potatoes had sour cream, cheese, all that stuff.
It's crazy because people don't realize baked potatoes are great for you. It's just all the stuff that you add on top of it that makes it now not a good option. But potatoes, like a raw potato or steamed, smoked, boiled, great.
Oh no, I couldn't believe it. Like when Drew was like, no, you can have potatoes. And I'm like, what? Like, this is crazy. Then I had to realize real quick, like, oh, it's all the other stuff. But that's probably like the meal that would be like a go-to for me, like clean wise and healthy wise. Obviously, I'm still a sucker for some of the other stuff out there, that tastes good. But I just know that's not like a staple for me.
For sure, man. You said you use a smoker. You're a Traeger guy?
Yeah, Traeger. I got the Traeger. Which is
I just got the new Tipton from Costco, man.
Oh, yeah. I got mine from Costco. It's like the money, the Silverton or whatever.
Oh, sorry, the Silverton. That's what the one I got. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, man. Yeah. I love it. It took me a second to realize, like, oh, you could take this route. Barbecue could go very bad for you, like calorie-wise.
But you can do it in a very healthy way too.
Right.
And I'll be at the smoke.
Exactly. But I love it, man. And I try to keep the leaner side of meats on there.
Yeah.
I've smoked a few chickens, which has been great for prepping throughout.
Oh, you gotta send me a setup for that. I haven't tried that one yet. I've only done beef, pork, fish, and shrimp. I haven't done any chicken yet.
Oh, I'll send you one. It turned out great. And literally it's just seasoning you put in your.
Yeah, I'm just afraid that I'll dry it out. That was like my only fear.
No. It worked out great. Right
on, man. That's awesome, dude. What, and you said that's your go-to healthy. What if you could have any, like your last meal, like you're on death row. What's your death row dirty meal, man?
Oh man, I don't know if you're like familiar with the area. We got a place called Casa Garcia over here, and they got some nachos, and they're like famous for the. Oh
yeah, I gotta head down and try that sometime.
Drew knows about it. He's around the area, but like the nachos are out of this world. Like toppings they put on there.
You got to send me a link after this. We'll put if we use this video, we'll put a hyperlink and make sure you get it. They get a shout out. So remember, Justin Tipton shouted you out. Hook this man up with some nachos.
That's a lot of people's go-to meals around here, and honestly, it's a meal that you enjoy when you're eating it, and then you probably
regret it after.
Yeah, for sure. Got a little heartburn, but I haven't had it in a while. But that's just been my go-to throughout like my whole adulthood. Is that spot right there?
Awesome, man, dude. It's been a pleasure talking to you, man. Is there anything else that you want to share about your journey that you feel like would maybe people would benefit from hearing, or I would benefit from hearing about that maybe we kind of haven't touched point on?
Yeah, I mean, one, I appreciate you guys first and foremost, man, all you guys do. And two, I think, I've seen a lot of things, one of the things that even with you guys' posts and other places, and I think people can sit behind their phones or their TVs and see something on TV and go, wow, look at this guy or look at this girl, and everything's working out for them. And realize that, myself, 7 months ago, I was that person. I didn't think it was possible for me. I was extremely unhappy, with my health and the way things are going. And I have a long process ahead of me still. I'm still shooting for some goals to hit, but it can happen for you. It can happen no matter what age, no matter what size, what weight, whoever you are out there. Like, I really recommend that you just start slowly and build off of that and go from there and really realize that each person has their own scale of health and just reach for that.
Yes, sir, man. Manifest that, bro. I love that. Just because you said one more thing to end on, just because you said you have some big goals to hit. I love manifesting and speaking those goals into existence. So let's hear, what are some of those big goals?
For sure. My biggest goal today is I started over at 34%, like 34.7% body fat. And for me, looking at it and researching prior, I didn't think 20% for me was ever in question. And now I'm sort of knocking on its door, which that's my biggest goal first, is to be like, awesome. 20% for me would be a healthy start for me. Obviously, I would want to reach goals after that, but the biggest one is 20%. And where I used to look at it is like scale. Like I would cut things out to hit a scaled number. Like, I have to hit this number on the scale. And that really hurt me in the long run. I was looking at everything wrong. So my biggest goal right now is 20%. Once I hit 20%, I'll feel extremely happy and satisfied for that moment. And then we'll reevaluate and make some new ones.
Awesome, bro. Bro, this has been such a pleasure, man. Just let's just shout out your business real quick. What's your business called?
Move Masters in Newport Beach.
Move Masters in Newport Beach. So if you're in Newport Beach or Orange County, or if you're in LA and you're moving to the OC, check out Move Masters. Hit up my boy Justin here. What's how can if would you be open if people could reach out to you and ask about your journey or something like that?
I would love it, man.
What's the best way for people to get in touch with you, man?
On my email, jtipton314@gmail, or the same thing on Instagram, jtipton314 on Instagram. I follow you guys. I follow Drew. I think that's huge for the community and health in general. And if anybody had any questions, I'm open, and I would love that.
Awesome, bro. Thank you.
Don't forget to subscribe and share, guys.
Follow us on Instagram at Finding Reason Podcast. Talk to you guys soon.